Hello there everybody, it is Octavian back again. I would just like to start this cast off by saying I apologize for the lack of videos the last few days. Actually it looks like Alphabetical and Hoji might have a little bit of a 1v1 here in the jungle. Interrupting my apologies, another 1v1 up in the top side of the jungle there, Hanser and DoYouTV going at it as well. But it looks like both fights have settled down, and so I'm going to be able to get back to what I was saying, which was that since patch 5.1, I've been having a little bit of difficulty getting any replays to work. This is the first one I've managed to get to function since the new season came out. So that is the explanation for the lack of content on the channel the last few days. I simply have not been able to record anything because every time I try and launch a replay or spectate a game live, the client just simply crashes out, goes to desktop, whatever it is. There's a slew of problems, and all of them mean that I haven't been able to record any footage, but finally I've gotten something to work, and so we have a challenger cast for you guys. This is a high-level solo queue replay taken from Masters level North America, and let's get right into it, shall we? Down on the bottom side of the map, that's where I like to start most often. It looks like the camera's down there already. We have a Graves and a Janna facing off against a Sivir and a Fiddlesticks. I have not seen Fiddlesticks support in a little while, ever since about the end of Season 3, maybe the beginning of Season 4 is the last time I really saw a Fiddlestick support in high-level play. And one of the main reasons why he's kind of fallen out of favor is because he's a little bit two-dimensional. Also, Fiddlesticks himself has received a small nerf recently. The Bouncing Crow, the Dark Wind, can only silence someone once now. It used to be able to stack the silence over and over onto somebody, and thus make the silence last longer artificially. It can no longer do that. The silence per spellcast can only proc on any one target once. And so he's not quite as good at CCing someone down, keeping them from casting their spells. And so he's not quite as well regarded as a support anymore, but he certainly can still be taken into that role. He's still got that solid 3.5 seconds of CC once he has a fear maxed out. And there's Geranimo getting feared backwards. The exhaust has been dropped into Lotta Princess already. And the first gank of the game from Alphabetical is here. First blood going to be going over to Geranimo. And SaintVicious is in trouble. Double kill for Geranimo's Graves. And that is really, really bad news for the side of Red Team's bottom lane. They did not have the early advantage in this lane to begin with. Fiddlesticks needs a little bit of time to be able to ramp up as a support, get a few levels into either his Dark Wind or his Terrify so that he can really be able to CC someone down. That's what he's really good at, holding somebody in place for a while with the fear, and at the early levels the fear just doesn't last long enough for that. But Hanser and Hoji are at the 1v1 up in the top lane. The Flame Spitter's doing some good damage, but Hoji turns around with an auto attacker or two as well as a few ice shards. And they trade just about evenly, both of them, at only a few hundred hit points. I wouldn't be surprised to see a jungle gank from either side, really, up in the top lane sometime soon. Looks like it would be a pretty good place for Wukong to come and lay down his first gank of the game. He is at his red buff right now. He's going to be finishing that one off and probably heading up to the top lane very shortly. Though to be fair, Hanser does have a ward guarding in the river there, so it would be a gank spotted out, but still, the pressure would be nice. However, Lissandra and Rumble are both going on back home to base. Both of them too low to stick around in lane because of that danger of a gank. Meanwhile, down on the bottom side of the map, SaintVicious still doing his best to try and duel out with Life and Geranimo, but he just is a little bit outclassed at this point. In the early game, Janna just is a bit more useful than Fiddlesticks anyways. As I said, he needs to get those levels to be able to do a lot of work, and Graves has so much more burst than a Sivir at this point in the game. So any 2v2 duel between these two I see going pretty solidly in favor of Geranimo and Life. Though to be fair, Sivir is very, very good at pushing waves. At least she has that, as you can tell by the fact that even though Geranimo has a pickaxe advantage over Sivir, the wave is still pushing up against him. But up in the top lane, DoYouTV Simon is coming in. He had the clone to get the invisibility. He uses the dash, but not before Hanser flashes, and there's Hoji coming in. One more auto attack. Finishes off the first kill of the game for Red Team. Starting to even out the gold advantage a little bit. But there is still that double kill on Geranimo, so that's still a factor that we have to consider moving forward in this game. And you know what lane we haven't really talked about too much? The middle lane, the one which the camera just swapped away from, actually, but the one which the camera was focused on for a little bit there. It is an Ahri versus a Zed, both very, very high power, high damage assassins. And the lane itself, I would say, is really a skill-based lane. It's not really a matchup. Pardon me. It's not really a matchup that goes in favor of one champion or the other by the matchup itself, just intrinsically. It's one which both players have the ability to outplay the other in some fashion or another, because both of them are very skill shot and mobility dependent champions, and because of that, it's all about where they position and whether or not they can land their skill shots. So that's going to be a very, very fun lane to watch. Those are always my favorite lanes, rather than the ones which are simply matchup based and just about strategic play rather than tactical in the moment decision making play. Barcode coming forward, trying to toss a charm onto the Zed, doesn't quite land it, and we swap back up to the top lane where Hanser and Hoji are at the 1v1 again. This time Hoji is starting to get the advantage in those duels. Life is going very, very low. The Ignite is burning. Geranimo is on a killing spree under the tower, and it looks like it's going to be a 1-for-2 trade. Jarvan picking up a kill this time as well. And the second gank of the game in bottom lane for Alphabetical pays off nearly as well as the first one. Life did go down, but a 2-for-1 trade is still a trade in favor of blue team. And, whoa, Nihilmatic getting hit by the charm. Might be in some trouble, though. Does have time to swap away before Barcode can toss out any more damage. And actually, Barcode ate 2 tower shots there. Not consecutive ones, and that's actually kind of important. Towers heat up ever since, I think actually the beginning of Season 4 is when that was included. But the more shots you take consecutively, the more damage those shots do. So if you take a shot and manage to break tower aggro, and then you take the second tower shot, you actually take less damage overall. Not a ton less damage, but it does matter. So Barcode actually getting left upon by the death mark here. The Ignite is burning as well, and he has no mana. He has no way out of this. However, the Ignite is turned back onto Nihilmatic as well, along with a tower shot. Means that they're going to trade evenly. And this lane has really not broken in either direction. As much as I said it was going to be a skill-based lane, it looks like neither side has really had the skill to outplay the other entirely. And they've traded kill for kill, and pretty much CS for CS. 3 less for Barcode, but that's really not such an impactful number. If you'll pardon me, it has been a few days since I last shoutcasted, so my throat is a little bit off. Got to get back into the swing of things here. And we will take this moment of quiet. That might be interrupted actually by Hanser and Hoji going in a duel up in the top lane. Hoji this time turns around with the ulti, snares him up, or stuns him up rather, goes through with the glacial path as well, but there's the equalizer. He's forced to flash the other direction. Hanser's running through his own equalizer to try and force Hoji to walk onto it, but Hoji has the range to be able to stay outside of it and finish off the kill, nearly going down himself. Another few ticks from the equalizer, or maybe a few more ticks of Flamespitter would have spelt his doom, but thankfully for Hoji, neither one of those was in the cards. And he managed to pick up his second kill of the game, rather. And the top lane, while about even in CS, is starting to go pretty solidly in favor of Hoji's Lissandra, which is not really good news for Rumble. His power spike is in the early and mid game, though certainly an equalizer in the late game in the right place can make a huge difference. But SaintVicious, whoa, gets instantly bursted out. Just a quick QR auto-attack combo. I mean, Wukong was coming down there to try and make some sort of gank happen. They need that pressure in the bottom lane because, as you can tell by the amount of burst that Geranimo just put out in under a second, it is solidly right now in favor of blue team, and it's really where blue team is shining on the map. I mean, it's certainly not top lane where Lissandra has a steady lead for herself. It's this bottom lane where Geranimo is flashing under the tower. The flash countered, though, by Sivers, and Lotte Princess might actually be able to turn around and get this kill on Geranimo, who's sitting in the Tribrush. Lotte Princess, this is a dangerous move by him. He's coming back near the Tribrush, as you can see down the map there, and there it is! There's the max range boomerang, hitting both on the initial cast and the return, instantly finishing off the low health Geranimo, and picking up a kill for Lotte Princess. Well shot, and well-deserved kill. Oh, lots of damage laying onto Nihilmatic there, as Hoji clears out a ward in the top lane. And while we have a little bit more quiet on the map here, I would like to talk about the potential for a dragon fight, because while it doesn't look currently like either team is really setting up for that, though to be fair, red team does have some good vision control in the general area, these teams, both of them, are very, very good at dragon fights. That's going to be an interesting and fun place to watch, and I really hope that one of them goes for a dragon, because I just want to see a team fight at this point, maybe 5 minutes, sometime between now and like 20 minutes. I want to see a fight in the dragon area, because Rumble, Lissandra, Wukong, Fiddlesticks, Jarvan, these are all amazing champions for dragon fighting. But there's Hanser up in the top lane. However, the counter gank this time from Alphabetical is here, and DuUTV is going to be going down. Alphabetical gets hits up by the Frozen Tomb, but he flashes forward to the Chilling Smite as well. This might be the end for Hoji. Actually, he turns around, he gets the kill, and now he's on the run from Haunter. He turns around with some damage himself, but Haunter is tanky enough to survive there. Life, however, getting ignited, drained, and hit up by the Crow Storm. There's the death mark. Dodges out of the tornado. Nihilmatic is going to be finishing off the kill onto Janna, and then swapping right back to his safety clone, as I like to call it, for the Z ult. When you jump in onto someone, you actually create a shadow swap clone where you jumped from. But there is Barcode leaping in. Doesn't quite land the charm, and that's actually kind of a waste of Spirit Rush. Though, to be fair, had he hit the charm, he probably would have definitely had that kill. So, you miss 100% of the Spirit Rushes that you don't use. However, you would be very happy to have it right now. SaintVicious is coming in for the gank. The Fear, the Tether, the Ignite has been dropped. The damage is there, and Barcode's going to be going down. Nihilmatic picking up that kill. Down to the bottom lane, Lotta Princess is all alone against Geranimo. And Geranimo currently has a huge lead. There's the ulti. Doesn't quite have the range, though. So Lotta Princess is going to be able to escape. And that's Geranimo's collateral damage. Kind of wasted. He did get the pressure in that lane, so he's able to push up. He would be able to get some damage onto that tower, but we do have a Wukong down on that side of the map. DUTV Simon roamed down and stopped him from pushing up past the river. He had the vision, so he saw Wukong coming down, so he didn't get killed by the gank, but he did manage, just with that pressure, with being on that side of the map just in general, he managed to save the tower for a little bit longer, and so that's some gold not in the pockets of blue team. As Haunter roams forward, Hoji nearly getting ganked there. Actually, a roam all the way up from the bottom lane with Life trying to get a gank off in the top side as that Janna roaming all the way across the map, but Hoji does have the incredibly long-range Lissandra E to get out of a lot of different gank situations. Very difficult to gank a Lissandra, but Hoji going into 1v1 with Haunter now has a huge amount of burst. The Ignite is burning as well. Hoji gonna pick up the kill, that red buff as well, and this is starting to look pretty rough for Rumble up in the top lane. It's a 4-1-0 Lissandra. He has actually impressively managed to keep up, indeed even have a small lead in CS, but that's not too much of an issue for Lissandra when she has a 4-1 kill lead down on the bottom side of the map. Simon might be going for a gank sometime soon. Actually, I'm not sure why he's not running in right now. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Nihilmatic is going in. Speaking of running in, there's a huge burst going on to Barcode, and now finally Simon is here. The Cyclone doesn't land on anybody, though, and it's been long enough for Alphabetical to come down the Chilling Smite. The knockup from the Flagon Dragon. Geranimo has the burst to finish off the Wukong, who waited just a little bit too long in the bush before going for his gank. There were 2 or 3 opportunities there where Life and Geranimo were certainly pushed far enough up that Wukong could have made that gank work. And he was just waiting for an even more perfect opportunity, but I'm afraid that never was going to come. The exhaust has been dropped onto SaintVicious, the ulti from Jarvan as well. However, Lotta Princess is there with the damage, and SaintVicious flashes under the tower. He's still alive. The teleport from the top lane is here, and that is Jarvan trapped under the tower. Hoji finishes off the kill, and SaintVicious gets out with his life. Well done. Very, very well-timed teleport from Hoji. Good map awareness. Coming down to the bottom side of the map there. Does mean he leaves open top lane for a little bit. Haunter gonna be pushing the lane up. Doesn't really have a ton of damage to lay down to the towers, though. He is Rumble, not exactly too great at taking out a tower once he reaches it, but he has the Flame Spitter, so he can clear the minion waves, get up to the tower pretty quickly, and the minions can do some good damage for him as well. Meanwhile, down at the bottom side of the map, though, Hoji's team is taking down the dragon, so that's going to be the first dragon of the game going over to red team, and we didn't see any contest from either side, even though, as I said earlier, both teams very, very good at these skirmishes near the dragon pit. They both have AoE control, which is one of the best things to have in that sort of closed, engaged situation near the dragon pit, because there's not very much room to maneuver there in the river right next to where the dragon is, and you have the dragon beating down on people as well, so something like an Equalizer or a Cataclysm, or, I mean, half the ultimates from really either team here are incredibly, incredibly valuable tools in that closed-off, really tight situation near the dragon. But we didn't get to see that fight happen because red team just kind of took it and cleared out all the vision in the area, took it without any contest from blue. And they've actually kind of pulled ahead here. I mean, earlier on, it looked like Geranimo and Life were taking the game in their hands and not giving an inch down in the bottom lane, and they still do have quite a lead here. 124 to 92 CS, 5-1-1 to 2-2-2. But they haven't managed to spread that lead across the map. They've kind of sat in bottom lane and really kept the pressure on there, But meanwhile in top lane, Hoji is doing great work on Lissandra. He's 5-1-0, and in the mid lane there's a 3-1-0 Zed. So I think that Geranimo and Life really need to take the turret here. Maybe go roaming across the map somewhere else, but Lottie Princess and SaintVicious are making some kind of engage happen here. SaintVicious doing some good damage to Geranimo. The Ignite is burning. He might be going down. A few more minion auto attacks actually do the rest of the job. And Life, trapped under his turret, might get dove here. SaintVicious is going to tank up the turret. Life goes down. And Lottie Princess is on a killing spree. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Hoji and Hanser are going at the 1v1 again, but Do You TV Simon is here. Hanser did not know that the jungler was nearby, and Hoji is on a killing spree. And Red Team is starting to pick up steam all across the board here. Alphabetical, looking to try and halt some of their progress, goes in with the Chilling Smite and the Jarvan ult all at once, shuts down Hoji, and then flashes onto Do You TV Simon. The red buff slow, not going to be enough to catch up to him after Simon flashes away. And that is at least one kill back for Red Team, and Jarvan has been doing quite well across the board. And he's gone for a very, very heavy damage build. He's got the Warrior Enchantment on top of 2 more longswords and a pickaxe. Alphabetical is going to hurt. The only downside of that is that he's going to be very, very squishy, and Nihilomatic might actually be able to burst him down here. The Death Mark, the Ignite, both are burning. He flashes forward, one more auto attack. Nihilomatic is on a killing spree. Down to the bottom side of the map, though, Geranimo finally shuts down Lottie Princess. Meanwhile, Barcode Killer is going after Nihilomatic. Shutdown for him. SaintVicious, trapped under the enemy tower, has nowhere to go. Does manage to finish off the tower, but he's going to be going down. And Hanser, picking up that kill, is going to grab his second of the game and try and pull himself out of the pit that he got thrown into in top lane. Ooh, Hoji maybe chasing after Barcode here. Ooh, flash forward. There's the ulti. There's the Q. There's the W. Holding him up forever. If anybody can lock up an Ahri, it is a Lissandra. Spirit Rush and Flash were both down, though. So Lissandra did not require as much locking up as perhaps she would have in a very different situation. But still, that is another kill going over to Hoji. 7-2 Lissandra. Finished off a Morellonomicon. Got a bunch of Doran's rings there, and indeed the cooldown reduction from a pair of Ionian boots as well. So looking for a very, very heavy cooldown reduction build, actually, which is interesting. Looking to put out as much utility as possible instead of going for a heavy damage route. Not that Morellonomicon and a few Doran's rings won't be providing some damage. I mean, as we saw, she has the burst to bring down Barcode from, I think that was like 70 or 80% health right there. So that's quite a bit of damage done in a fairly short amount of time, but not as much damage as if she had instead gone for, say, a Death Cap or a Zonia's. And Hoji going under the tower, Life actually forced to pop Monsoon just to keep himself safe, and that is going to be the third turret of the game, falling for Red Team, whereas Blue have only managed to bring down a single one. Looks like they're going for some kind of invade as well. They find out a Pink Ward and they take that down, and they might be closing in on Geranimo down in the bottom side of the map. Yeah, he realizes that he's in a tough spot. Alphabetical is in a tough spot as well, though. The flag and the drag kind of just hold him up in place, and Hoji, thankfully, for Alphabetical at least, didn't have very much backup around him. So Alphabetical just takes a chunk of damage to the face, and then is able to walk right out of there, as Geranimo is able to just walk right out of there in the bottom lane, thanks to some map awareness. Saw that they were killing off the wards. Oh, however, Life is getting leapt on by Nihilomatic here. The exhaust has been dropped onto him, a few more auto attacks, and a crit from Geranimo. Finishes off the kill as Alphabetical with the Chilling Smite onto Little Princess goes in, and there's the Cataclysm. You cannot spell shield the walls, so he is trapped up, and Hoji teleporting to the bottom lane might not have liked his choice now. Geranimo is going very, very low, though. SaintVicious is here, the Crow Storm, even just the base damage on that hurts. And I mean, he's got a Zonia's Hourglass on top of it. SaintVicious has picked up enough gold at this point to be able to afford at least one AP item. He might be caught out here, though. Barcode leaping in with the Spirit Rush does get silenced, so he's going to be able to survive a little bit longer. And Simon is here, actually. Hoji goes down, Alphabetical, with that huge damage Jarvan build, has enough to burst down the Lissandra, but the rest of his team is here. Barcode is going to take out Simon, and SaintVicious, the boots of mobility, keep him fairly far away from Blue Team, but the minions are going to slow him down, and now he is certainly toast. The knockup doesn't quite connect, but the slow does. There's the secondary knockup. Hanser finishing off the kill onto SaintVicious. Whew. And just in time for Dragon as well. That is going to be up in about 17 seconds. Both Sivir and Zed rushing down in that direction. They might be able to make some sort of play to try and contest the Dragon here, but it would be very, very dangerous if Blue Team decided to go for it. Though actually it doesn't look like they're going to be going for it. Alphabetical just clearing out some of his jungle here. And I would like to take a moment to look down at some of the builds, specifically Jarvan's. As I said earlier, he has gone for a very, very heavy damage build, and it looks like he's finished off, or is in the process of finishing off, rather, a Ravenous Hydra. He's got the Tiamat completed, and actually, yeah, he just finished off the Ravenous Hydra. So, just as I say it, so it happens, for I am the Shoutcaster, and all must bow to my whim. Haunter, chasing forward onto Nihimatic, might actually make some sort of kill happen here. Life is getting leapt on, though. There's the Monsoon to keep himself safe. The Ignite is burning the Deathmark as well. Huge damage from Nihimatic, but not enough. And Haunter's going to finish off the kill. But Red Team, with that distraction, actually, is going to take advantage of it, go over to the Dragon, and before Alphabetical has time to steal it, they are going to finish it off. However, Alphabetical wants some revenge. Geranimo, from downtown, fires off the Graves ulti and finishes off the kill onto Wukong. Haunter is on a rampage, certainly coming into his own after something of a rough laning phase. And that's going to be 2 kills traded for the Dragon. Well, actually, you could say 3 kills traded for the Dragon. I mean, they kind of used Nihimatic's death earlier, before the Dragon even started, as a distraction to start it off. And, so yeah, you could definitely say 3 kills traded for that Dragon. Hoji getting charmed up, a big burst, the Ignite is burning onto him. He does pop into his own ult to keep himself invulnerable a little bit longer, but he's going to be going down anyways to Haunter afterwards. Lade Princess then flashing onto Haunter as he takes a few auto attacks, and now Barcode and Life are in a 1v2 against Lade Princess. He flashes away from the boomerang. Well done! Barcode picking up the kill, returned onto Lade Princess, and that, and the fact that they didn't bring down the mid tower. It's nearly down, but they didn't actually bring it down yet. So those kills traded back, I would have to say, mean that overall those last few series of trades have gone in favor of blue team, even though there is now 2 Dragon buffs stacked up onto red, which is something that we really need to keep an eye on. Dragon, ever since the change where it's no longer just a flat amount of gold and now it actually stacks up a buff onto players, is something that gets a lot more important as the game rolls on. And it's a change I quite like. It really makes that objective far more relevant, whereas before, Dragon was not really something that mattered after the 25, 30, maybe 35 minute mark, depending on the pace of the game that you were in. Whereas now, Dragon is something that matters at pretty much any point in the game, because the early Dragon can give you a nice buff over your opponents, getting that 6% bonus, and the later Dragons can make it so easy to push lanes, and if you get that 5th stack, then you just become outright gods among men, roaming upon the Summoner's Rift and destroying whatever it is you feel like destroying. Oh, there's Alphabetical. He is gap closing like a man, leaping onto Lade Princess. He does get stunned up afterwards, but he flashes right out after the stuns ends, and there's the Equalizer forcing the enemy team to run away. And that's going to be another kill, actually 2 kills, traded over to blue team, and they don't even give up anything for it. They're going to go ahead into the middle lane and push that down. Geranimo getting the kill credit for the turret. And that's going to be another 2 kills going to blue team. Yeah, they've got quite a decisive lead on the board right now. What appeared to be a game in red team's hands not 10 minutes ago has now swapped back into blue teams. They had the early lead, then they lost it in the mid game, and now they're coming back towards the later game. We're really not that far into the game, to be perfectly honest, actually. We're 23, 24 minutes in, but we're kind of in the late mid-game, if that makes any sense. Nihimatic might be in some trouble here. He does get exhausted, Chilling Smite as well, and he is trying to trade for something, but it's not going to come to fruition. Geranimo, with the death mark, gets barely a scratch on him as it pops. Haunter now under the tower, taking a few tower shots, as well as some harass from Hoji. Might actually be in some trouble here. Hoji going to be following up with the Glacial Path. Doesn't quite land the Q, though. And so, gives up and returns to farming some minions. And we have some relative quiet on the map here, so it's a good time to look around and take stock of exactly where both teams are. There's a 6,000 gold lead for blue team. They still don't actually have an even number of turrets, or indeed a turret lead. Hoji looking to go in on the Haunter here, does dash in, there's the snare, there's the slow as well, but over the wall, here comes Alphabetical, and the Cataclysm as well as the Equalizer, both ultis dropped, does bring Hoji down. And that's going to be a kill traded over to blue team once again with nothing traded back in return. I mean, I guess you could say that they did have to burn both Cataclysm and Equalizer, 2 fairly powerful ults for the side of blue team to take out Hoji, but I would say that that's worth it. I mean, Hoji is one of the most powerful forces on red team right now. He had a great laning phase. He came out of it with 7 kills, and he's very powerful in these team fights. He's got a lot of utility and some good damage to top it off. So the fact that Hoji is down, not for very long actually, we're only about 25 minutes into the game here, so it's not too terribly long of a death timer. He's going to be up in just a few seconds here, but that's even more of a trickling gold advantage going over to blue team. They have pulled themselves slowly and slowly and slowly out of the hole that they kind of dug in the early mid game, and now they're starting to really take this game by the throat and really be uncontestable at this point. I mean, Geranimo is walking without fear right into Nihilomatic because he knows that he has the rest of his team to follow up. There's the burst from the Graves ulti, and while Geranimo went fairly low there, he didn't really have too much to fear in the end. Nihilomatic goes down as Haunter flashes over the wall, and that is both Fiddlesticks and Sivir ultis burned. They did get Haunter's flash out of it, but I don't think that that is really worth it. Those are two incredibly powerful, incredibly important team-fighting ultimates for red team, and blue might be able to make use of the next minute or so in which they know that both of those ultis are going to be down. Push up the mid lane and maybe take something out, maybe go for Baron even, or Dragon within the next 45 seconds because that is spawning fairly soon. Alphabetical looking to maybe go on to SaintVicious and Princess here. Huge burst into SaintVicious. Alphabetical again does have a very, very hefty damage Jarvan build. And Barcode is going to be the one to finish off the kill. That is a man advantage on the board right now for blue team as they 5-man push up the mid lane onto an inhibitor turret. This could be really bad for red. They're diving onto Nihilomatic. He's going very, very low. Barcode is dominating. Alphabetical burning on the Ignite might be going down. Actually, a Janna Shield Eye of the Storm going to be saving his life. Simon leaps in, but that was not worth it. That was not worth it, Simon. You traded kills with the Jarvan, but that's not a good thing to do when there's going to be 4 more members of blue team alive and well, pounding onto your inhibitor, moving onto the Nexus turrets. This might be the game here. Red team, one by one, are leaping in. They are not trading well here. Hoji is going to go invulnerable, but so is Haunter. The Zhonya's going to be keeping him alive underneath the turret, and that is another 1-for-0 trade in this series of 1-for-0 trades with blue team. Barcode picks up the ace. The Nexus is under fire. Blue team going to be picking up the victory here. Thank you guys for watching. I have been Octavian. I apologize for the delay and the lack of content the last few days, but hopefully this shoutcast made up for it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow.